Greetings of peace and thanks for tuning in. May the peace and blessings of Allah be with you. So in these videos we prepare for the coming of Imam Mahdi as well as the second coming of Jesus, peace and blessings be upon them, also known as the Mashiachs. So in this video we're going to be looking at spiritual power. And the month of Ramadan is a way to attain spiritual power. So I've been thinking, like, why is the Ummah without a rightly guided Khalifa? You know, is it due to a lack of wealth? Is it due to a lack of military strength? Is it due to a lack of numbers? It seems that we have all these in abundance. So the only thing I can think of is that we are lacking in spiritual power. And for us to attain a rightly guided Khalifa, known as Imam Mahdi, that's mentioned by our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, is to attain in aggregate a greater sense of spiritual power. So these are part of the reasons why I make these videos, to help us prepare for that, and the month of Ramadan is a great way for us to attain a greater spiritual power. So in the month of Ramadan we are training to be more spirit oriented versus body oriented by fasting from food and sex, by giving more on charities, by doing extra good deeds, by overlooking people's faults, remembering Allah more, giving thanks and gratitude, and staying away from the unlawful things that Allah forbids, and doing the lawful things that Allah prescribes for us. So by doing these things, specifically fasting from food and sex, really strengthens the spirit over the body identificating. So we are trying to be more spiritual oriented or soul oriented versus body oriented or dunya oriented, which is worldly things. So like in the story of Joseph, we see how being chaste is a power, that they mention the power of Joseph in the Quran. And I believe this is due to him being chaste. So as a teenager or so, he was thrown into slavery by his brothers. Then he was a slave for a rich politician in Egypt, and so he was a slave for many years, and then he chose to be thrown in jail to protect his chastity. So for another great amount of time he was in jail, and obviously his chastity was being protected. So this gave him a great power, helped him have greater dreams, vivid dreams, and helped him to understand these dreams, and gave him a greater spiritual power, and ended up being the second most powerful person in Egypt later in his life. And we also see in the story of Mary, mother of Jesus, within the Quran, that she had a great deal of spiritual power as well. We know that she had the virgin birth of Jesus, peace and blessings be upon them, and also, she was mentioned in the Quran that she was given food from out of the thin air, that Allah provides to whomever He wills, even food that was out of season. So we see a great amount of stories or examples in the Quran about being chaste and the power that it gives. So we're training that as well within the month of Ramadan. So even from my personal experience, I've gone great amounts of periods of time without with being chaste, and my dreams were more vivid and more often, and had a great deal more spiritual experiences being chaste. So there's a definite power in being chaste. So attaining spiritual power in the month of Ramadan. So Allah will perfect His light even though disbelievers consider it hard. So Allah says in chapter 61 verse 8, "They desire to extinguish the light of Allah with the breath of their mouths, but Allah perfects His light even though the disbelievers consider it hard." So one of the goals here, or one of the main goals, is to perfect the light of Allah, which is our souls, to attain a greater, higher level amount of spiritual power, and to identify with the spirit, our soul, and not with this dunya and our physical bodies. So those who follow the guidance from their Lord attain their objective in this life and the hereafter. So Allah says in chapter 2 verse 3 through 5, "Those who believe in the existence of hidden reality, which is beyond the reach of ordinary human perception and cognizance, and who observe the prayer and spend on others out of that which we have provided for them, and who also believe in that message which has been revealed to you, and in that which has been revealed before you, and who have firm faith in the hereafter. It is they who follow the guidance from their Lord, and it is they alone who are successful in attaining their object in this life and in the hereafter. So Allah is saying very clearly, those who believe in the hidden realities, those who have firm faith in the hereafter, who observe prayers and give in charity, these are people who are more spiritual oriented. They have firm faith in hereafter, the existence of hidden realities. These are spiritual oriented people and not people that are of the dunya. So believers, be patiently persevering and ward off evil and keep your duty to Allah so that you may attain your goal. So Allah says in chapter 3 verse 200, O you believe, be patiently persevering and strive to excel the disbelievers in being patiently persevering, and guard the frontiers and ward off evil and keep your duty to Allah so that you may attain your goal. So to attain our goal, we need to be patiently persevering, not to go into any extremes, not to do injustice to ourselves and others, and to strive and to excel the disbelievers. So it's important to do this so, we can be rightly guided, and as Allah says here in chapter 5 verse 105, O you who believe, take care of yourselves, for upon you is the responsibility of your own selves. He who has gone astray can do you no harm, provided you are rightly guided. Towards Allah is the final return of you all. Then will He inform you as to what you have been doing. So it's very important for us to be rightly guided, to train in the month of Ramadan, to be more spiritual oriented, so that we can be rightly guided. And this is a protection for us, as Allah says, He who has gone astray can do you no harm, provided you are rightly guided. So Allah disdains every other thing save that He will perfect His light. So Allah says in chapter 9 verse 32, they seek to put out the light of Allah with the breaths of their mouths, but Allah disdains every other thing save that He will perfect His light, however much the disbelievers may consider it hard. So the purpose here is that Allah wants to perfect His light, which is our souls, our spirit self, and this is done by identifying and doing actions and thinking in spiritual ways, and not identifying with the physical world and with our physical bodies, and more identifying with our spirits. And this is done through practicing Islam, doing what Allah does, what Allah wants us to do lawfully, and staying away from the unlawful things that Allah forbids. And specifically in the month of Ramadan, by fasting and doing extra good deeds, helps us be more spiritual oriented. So I just got some Quran verses here that talk about fasting in the month of Ramadan. So believers, you are bound to observe fasting as those before you, as Allah says in chapter 2 verse 183, O you believe, you are bound to observe fasting as those before you were bound, so that you may guard against evil. So fasting has been prescribed to the peoples before us. Fast for a period of number of days, and the expiation of missed days of fasting. So Allah says in chapter 2 verse 184, you are required to fast for a prescribed number of days, but if any one of you is sick or is on a journey, he shall fast to make up the prescribed number in other days. And for those who are unable to fast is an expiation as thanksgiving, the feeding of a poor person daily for the days of fasting. And he who volunteers extra good will find that it is even better for him, and that you observe fasting is better for you, even if you only knew. So observing fasting is better for us. It is identifying with our spirits, and this is what Allah mentions, if you only knew. So those who witness the month of Ramadan should fast for the full month. So Allah says in chapter 2 verse 185, the lunar month of Ramadan is that in which the Quran started to be revealed as a guidance for the whole of the people, with its clear evidences providing comprehensive guidance and the discrimination between the right and the wrong. Therefore he who shall witness the month should fast for the full month during it. But he who is sick or is on a journey shall fast to make up the prescribed number of days in other days. Allah wishes facility for you and does not wish hardship for you. This facility is given to you that you may complete the number of required fasts, and you may extol the greatness of Allah for His having guided you, and that you may render thanks to Him. So, maintaining the fast during the time of early sunrise to the end of sunset, and abstain from urges of nature during the fast. So Allah says in chapter 2, verse 187, though during fasting you must abstain from all urges of nature, including the sexual urge, it is made lawful for you on the nights of the fast to approach and lie with your wives for sexual relationship. They are a sort of garment for you, and you are a sort of garment for them. Allah knows that what you have been doing injustice to yourselves by restricting conjugal relations with your wives even at night. So He turned to you with mercy and provided you relief. Now enjoy their company at night during Ramadan, and seek that what Allah has ordained for you. Eat and drink till the white streak of the dawn becomes distinct to you from the black streak of darkness. Then complete the fast till nightfall, and you shall not lie with them, your wives, while you perform iftikah, while you are secluding in the mosque for prayer and devotion to God. These are the limits imposed by Allah, so do not approach these limits. Thus does Allah explains His commandments for the people, that they may become secure against evil. So these are some of the verses in the Quran about Ramadan, just giving you certain limits and restrictions in fasting, that we fast during basically the late hours of the day, from early sunrise to sunset. We fast, and if it's hard upon you and you need to make love with your wife, well, Allah has is merciful and allowed people to have that during the nightly hours of the day, except if you're secluding in a mosque for prayer and devotion to God. So this is training for us to be more spiritually oriented, to focus more on our spirit self and not the body by fasting from food and natural urges, to be more polite and kind to each other, to give more in charities, to do extra good deeds. So if one wanted to go the whole month without having any conjugal relationships with their wives or husbands, one should mention that to your spouse, that you're doing that, because they may wonder what's going on or something like that. And if you feel like it's doing injustice to yourself, well, you always have that option to have that relief in the night times during the month of Ramadan. So this is training. Everybody's at different levels. Allah has given us all different capacities and capabilities. So you don't want to go to any extremes. But being chaste is a form of spiritual power, and is fasting and doing all these other good deeds in combination. So I think it's very vital that we attain a greater spiritual power, specifically in preparation of the coming of Imam Mahdi, as well as the second coming of Jesus, peace and blessings be upon them. My videos are designed to attain a greater spiritual power in the preparation, to give us a greater understanding and to be a more balanced and approach to moving to these objectives. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you take Allah as your shield, and may the peace and blessings of Allah be with you. Take care. Peace.